let's get into what do I need to do
Sure.
if I want to be, have a stronger personal financial situation.
So contractors and business owners who are, they are leaning on themselves and themselves only.
Yeah.
And so the most important thing the number one thing that brings down businesses, even strong ones, is a lack of liquidity. Something stopped the cash flow.
Yeah.
So if your cash flow stops, you better have a reserve somewhere that you can go lean on.
My name is Dominic Rubino. Welcome to the Cabinet Maker Profit System podcast. It's just for cabinet makers, architectural mill workers, closet shop owners. If you're looking for ways to increase your business, this is the place to do it. Now, today's guest is Gary Pinkerton. Now, Gary's got a pretty cool background, I can tell you that. And as soon as you listen, you'll know how cool. It has to do with nuclear submarines. Very cool stuff. But we also talk about his background and how he got to where he is right now. And ultimately, the topic today is about personal finance and building a legacy for yourselves. And listen, we're all running this business to leave something behind for others. I mean, what is it that's driving you if you're not trying to help the people around you? We talk to about 500 people like you a year, and we know that we're all here to do something greater, take care of our family, whether it's our own nuclear family, our kids and our wife, or maybe our own parents or brothers and sisters, or maybe our in-laws. But we're here to take care of others. And in order to do that, we've got to have the money to be able to do that. It's not even talking about the time. So that's what Gary's going to walk us through today. I also want to remind you, stay tuned to the end of the episode where we're going to be talking about the impact of the Christmas water project, because it is going gangbusters. And I want to fill you in on that as well. All right, let's get to the episode and see what Gary has to say. Mr. Gary Pinkerton, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, Dominic. I'm excited. I've been thinking about this week already.
Yeah, well, I'm intimidated.
As you should be, sir.
There you go. You see, you did it. I knew you were going to do that. Well, because you're a naval officer, and I was neither in the Navy nor an officer, and so I don't really know how to, what would your word be, comport myself around an officer properly.
Well, if it helps, I worked for you. That was the whole thing.
Oh, great. Yeah. I wonder what it's like, and some people out there might know what it's like to cross or be on the wrong side of a naval officer or an officer.
Oh, yeah, we're full spectrum like everybody else. You have some that are hot-headed, some that are not. Some of us who are low on sleep and act like we're hot-headed every once in a while. I'm probably in that category.
Yeah. So now we have people's curiosity. I mean, you and I are here to talk about finance and building a legacy. All of the things that we're, at the end of the day, we build what we build, we make what we make, we install what we install, but we're really running this business to support our families and build a legacy.
Sure.
Right? So that's why we went and looked for you. And so we'll talk about that. But let me ask you this first. Mr. Gary Pinkerton, who the heck are you? And how is it that you come to be speaking to all these forward-facing contractors all over the world?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of a developing story, which I think anybody's life is.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I started, I grew up in Southern Illinois on a dairy farm in the late 70s, early 80s. I've made almost 57 laps around the sun. And so this was a time of very high interest rates, high inflation under Jimmy Carter, turning to Ronald Reagan. And he actually pummeled us a bit more, and, for good purpose of killing inflation. And we had a dairy farm at the time, and we had super high interest rates, variable rate loans that the bankers had kind of gotten us into. And ended up like my freshman year in high school, losing everything. Dad's health.
Oh, the farm. You lost the farm.
Yeah, I lost the whole thing. But
I'm sorry.
sold the farm. Like buying the farm is what you normally hear as a phrase.
Yeah.
We lost the farm. And so I found myself in high school, my last 3 years in high school, just like working after school, not being able to enjoy any time with friends or going to any of the sports, doing part-time jobs, putting food on the table. And I just hated it. And so my goals were pretty minimal when I left high school, like get out of Illinois, get a safe, secure W-2 job. And there's nothing more safe than the U.S. government.
Right.
And the Naval Academy offered me a free ride, which was exactly, I don't know how they knew this, but that was exactly what I could afford. So, and so I found myself in Annapolis, Maryland at the Naval Academy, and got excited about engineering stuff and went into submarines and spent a full career in Navy nuclear submarines. And it was awesome. I really did enjoy it. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It was hard work, stressful.
Yeah.
But I met some of the most amazing people. It was very challenged. It was a great career enhancing choice of decisions that I made. And so I found myself on the precipice of, I was getting ready to command a submarine right before the Great Recession. I had taken a picture of me at the Naval Academy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
my, as I'm showing up is like a negative $2,000 net worth. I had to work weekends and nights.
Even you were already in the military and you were already in the whole $2,000.
No, before I got there, like
Oh,
I
okay.
had to get a $2,000 loan to cover what I couldn't make to be able to buy my uniforms to start, like to show up.
Wow.
And so it was kind of a free ride, but there was this kicker, unwritten thing that you had to have $5,000 to kick into your pay for your uniforms, and I didn't have it. So, I have this picture of myself with my parents at the Naval Academy and this 17 or 18-year-old kid, negative $2,000 net worth. Well, fast forward 20 years almost, and I'm now getting ready to command a submarine, and my net worth is almost $1 million. And of course, like all males, I took total credit for that. Like,
Yeah, of course. All on your own.
But now a little more mature and humbled, I can look back on it and say, well, yeah, the markets went straight up in the 90s. And, that whole monkey throws the dart and, hits a winner. And I also had a great career. I mean, a very well-paid career with bonuses and things like that, right? And I wanted to never let my kids be poor, so I was saving every penny I could find.
It's interesting. That's the part of the story so far that I want to come back to in a sec. So
Okay.
I'll let you keep going.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to your kitchen table when the dairy
Yeah.
farm collapsed. But
And so you can see it's already evolving, right? Like my goals were very immature. Like, I just want a safe, secure job and never worry about money again. And then almost to the point of like, I don't even care what I do, and then it was like, wow, I'm really inspired for this patriotism, military stuff. Like, I really enjoy this life and I feel like I'm doing some good. Protecting America from bad guys on the outside. Right. Then I started to realize as I matured even further, hey, I've got this thing. Like, my kids aren't, unless I really screw it up, my kids aren't going to be dirt poor. But yet my boys, we had two boys, 24 and 21 at the time, but they were like, 4 and 8 or something, 4 and 6, when I was starting to command the submarine, and they were starting to act out. And their mom, my wife, was pretty worn out with this whole travel around every 2 years thing and being a single parent half the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to retire after commanding the submarine. I have my 20 years in, and I'm going to go spend time around my boys. I'm not going off to be an admiral. That part of the story wasn't written anyway, because if you're not successful in command of your ship, one of your guys while you're sleeping runs it aground or something, or hits something, you're done. Right. So that, there was a lot of still variables out there, but I was like, you know what? I want to spend time around these boys, because I was starting to realize that while my dad didn't pass anything monetarily to us, which is what I used to call legacy, right? That's really inheritance. He passed an amazing legacy, which resulted in my sister and I both being really successful. Work ethic, family love, morals, all these things. And I had no choice but to be around him nonstop. I remember I had this project when I was in grade school. I had to collect samples of 25 different tree leaves. I came in with 100 because my dad and I are plowing a field, and he stops and he's like, okay, that's an elm tree, that's an oak tree, that's a maple tree. That one's got a cool story. Grab that one too.
Yeah.
Right.
That one's a weed. Pull it out, but let's take the leaf. Yeah.
Put the weed in there. Your teacher won't know the difference. But I just learned so much from the guy, and I was doing none of that.
You learned attitude. It's the attitude, right?
Yeah.
And how often, let me interrupt you for a second. How often did you see an attitude? You're a leader, you're a commander. You had two guys with the same skill. One of them had a great attitude, like a really outstanding attitude, and one of them had a slightly negative attitude. What was the impact on their lives of the great attitude guy versus the...
No, it's 100%. They're going in opposite directions. I'd bet on the guy with a good attitude and one leg any day of the week.
Yeah.
It was one of the, I forgot who it was who said this. Maybe it was Zig Ziglar. Anyway, I'm sure many famous, smart self-improvement people have said it. It's that the guy, if you find all of the people who have been wildly successful, they have one thing in common: a massive chip on their shoulder about something. It could be they had a poor childhood like I did, and you don't want your kids to have it. It could be anything. Somebody wronged my family, and I'm going to prove them wrong, right? Like, there's some motivational chip on their shoulder where they will not quit.
Yeah. There's some internal drive. And, listen, everybody here that's listening to this show started on the tools.
Yep.
And, we look around, we pull up to a light in traffic, and I'm in my truck, whatever the truck is. Doesn't matter if it's a Sprinter or F-150 or doesn't matter. And I see a Porsche next to me, and I automatically think that guy's got it figured out. Right? He's got more than me. And if I allow myself to go down that path, I might think I'm lesser than him or her. And that's not the case. They're probably financed to the hilt on that leased vehicle on a single job. And here we are in our pickup truck or in our Sprinter van or whatever it is. And we have 4 more like it at the shop. and we've got the shop, and we've got the site equipment, and we've got a cabin or a cottage, and we got a boat. But we paid cash for these things.
Yeah. And you could call your banker and he'd give you 5 Porsches.
Yeah.
But it's very easy to go down that path, even though all that's true.
It is.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Do you mind if I go back? And we are going to talk about, personal finance and legacy, because I do. The reason that I want you here is to talk about the intentionality of it all, because we have to do it on purpose. You can't just wait and go, oh my God, what did you say? You're 57?
57. Yep.
Yeah. Same age as me. Great year.
Awesome.
Great year.
They only made good things that year.
That's right. But you can't be 67 or 77 and think, I should probably start thinking about legacy, or who's going to take care of me, or how my kids, you got to start doing it in advance. But the reason I'm going to the end of the conversation is I want to go back to the beginning of your conversation. If you don't mind, how did it feel around your kitchen table when your dad said, we're losing the farm?
I was mad because I was blaming other people. And that was the first couple of years while I was in high school.
Your formative years. So that was in your head.
Yeah, it was. And I was mad, lashing out at other people. I didn't like, but it didn't last long, frankly. Once we'd already lost it, and we were living in this rundown trailer in my uncle's land, and we had the opportunity to work. And I realized, really
lost everything.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
And I could, I think it's a badge of honor now. Like, it really propelled me. I found that very quickly, and I don't really know what to owe this to. Well, actually I do. My father, as I mentioned, my father's health was failing. Mom had never had a job. She was trying to find her first W-2 job, but tough times in Illinois in those really high interest rate periods, right? And so I found out that I could do things in our machine shop and people would pay us for it, and it solved a problem. And I'm like, well, if I do it faster or more efficiently, we get more things. So I really saw this immediate connection to level of effort, and I could be successful. Like, I'm not sure there's a better thing as far as mindset that somebody could learn at a young age than
I can control my outcomes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, I have the ability to change my future. If you get that in your head, the sky's pretty unlimited. It
really is. And it lines up so well with everybody who's listening here, because we know we can build things with our hands, and we've made it to wherever point we're at right now. And of obviously what you and I study now is how to turn that. I call it working from the neck up.
Yeah.
You're good with your hands, but at some point you've got to really lean into that leadership position.
Sure.
And start to lead people. Your people become the leverage points.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Very cool.
And so I learned all that on the Navy's dime, and I was truly rewarded for all of that. Right. I just had an amazing, just an incredible experience. The things that we were able to do at young ages, just incredible. Like my oldest son's 24, and I sometimes reflect like, wow, at 24, I was qualified to, operate a nuclear submarine and a reactor plant. And, and by the time I was 38, I was commanding the stupid thing. So, it's crazy what they put young people, but I can't even imagine going and doing it at 20 years later.
Well, let me ask you though, how much effort, and this is a dumb question because you're going to get mad at me for asking, how much effort did you put in to training your people who did not come into the Navy knowing how to run a nuclear sub or the desalination plant? How much training did they get?
A ton, nonstop. Right. It's really like firefighters. We are nonstop training. I tell, when young officers ask me like, what's it like? I go, well, you're always qualifying. They're like, oh, what do you mean, the first year or two? I'm like, no. Like, the only time I remember being on a submarine and not being qualifying something, the next step, was when I was in command. And actually that wasn't even true. I was still doing it there. So you just, congratulations on that.
To you? Sorry.
What's it mean?
What do you mean by qualifying? Yeah.
You're achieving a certification. So,
I see. Okay.
Yeah. You start off and you're completely useless. They call you an oxygen. I forgot what we call it now, but basically you're sucking
other people's. It's a family show. You can't say what you used to say in the submarine here.
That's right. I was trying to filter sailor mouth and I couldn't even figure out how to say it. So,
but it's the reason I ask you that question is because I think we forget as leaders. And I'm just right now I'm looking at myself. When was the last time I trained? There's one person on my team that they're doing great, but I need to give them more.
Yeah.
And when was the last time we trained somebody on CNC or on pneumatic tool repair or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is.
On submarines, and this is true for most of our ships, but an inspection team will come out, the nuclear power plant, they'll run drills on you, that kind of thing. But if you think of like what does a firefighter do most of the time? They're practicing for fires most of the time, hopefully not actually nonstop fighting real fires.
Yeah.
And so we're doing the same thing, and we're getting ready for war and that kind of thing. And so before we can deploy from our home submarine base, we have to prove to the Navy large that we're safe and that we can fight hurt. And on one of mine, they came in and tapped me on the shoulder and they said, the crew's doing pretty well. You're dead. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, you're done. You're out. The XO, the executive officer, now has to run the ship. So, they take away.
Sorry, people. That wasn't a threat. That was a change in the red team.
Oh, sorry. Team. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's like, wow.
The red team said, you're down a man. By the way, it's you.
By the way, it's you. Okay. So did you have your systems in place?
Right. Can you operate with 3 of the people who are the mechanics not operating? And so anyway, you're operating and people have to do each other's jobs. Right. And so I would go around and kind of randomly, in quotes, kill somebody on the crew and say, hey, what are you guys going to do if that happens? Trying to test them and treat. So we're constantly, and that's why I think they're the best in the world and will be for a long time, is that the U.S. military forces focus first on the people and their education and their mindset, and then on weapons.
Yeah. Echoing that is one of our business coaches on our team was on a nuclear naval submarine.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, wait, he was on the Enterprise. That's not a submarine.
Yeah, surface ship. That's fine.
Surface ship. Yeah, he was. So that's Coach Pete Fico. For those of you out there who are already working with Coach Pete, you can wave. But Pete was one of your nuclear naval guys. He glows sometimes when the lights go off. You can see him.
Yeah.
But he talks often about what he learned, which is the simple systems, the simple fallback, the foolproof systems, and having that confidence that it's going to work even if we're down a man.
Yeah, it's crazy. We learn so many amazing stories, and I try to impart that on my teams when I'm running businesses and things. And so, you ask like, well, how did you end up talking financial stuff to people, right? And why business owners? Why contractors? And what I realized was that I wanted to be around my kids, but also I was getting stale where I was. I didn't want to go be an admiral or be somebody who ran around the walls of the Pentagon, because I felt like the Navy didn't need me. The military, the government, the U.S. didn't need me there. We were pretty strong. We're still pretty strong against outside forces that, we just recently kind of proved a few places.
Yeah.
And so what we needed was to protect this 250-year-old experiment that is really threatened from the inside, not the outside. And it comes and goes from time to time. And kind of your political perspective will tell you whether it's bad now or better now. I mean, I don't really want to get into that, but from time to time we test things. And really the only threat we've ever had is whether we, like Benjamin Franklin said when asked, what kind of a government did you give us? And he said, well, a republic, if you can hold on to it. That holding on to it part, I used to think was from somebody taking it like the War of 1812 from the outside. Yeah. Frankly, it's from the inside. And so I wanted to teach people.
And it's the same thing with our companies.
Absolutely it is. Yeah. Your biggest enemy is not innovating, not staying relevant and valuable to your customers.
Not taking action. Are you running a very busy cabinetry or mill workshop, maybe even closets? You're already in the $2 to $4 million range, and you're trying to find ways to get up to that $5 to $10 million range. But at the same time, you realized you're not profitable. You're working extremely hard. You've got a pretty good team around you. You've got lots of business, and at the same time, you're still not making money. Well, you're probably ready for something that we call the Profit Pack. It is 5 coaching documents that I'm going to share with you here. Just send me a text and I'll shoot them off. There's nothing to hide. I need you to have this information so you can grow, so you can finally put money on the table for you and your family, so you're not always the last one paid. Does that sound fair? 5 documents in this package. So I also want you to put some time aside on your calendar to go through the documents. Figure out which one you need to do first and which one you can do last. Figure out which one's going to have the most impact and which one is a supporting document to help you do that. There's 5 in here. 4 PDFs and 1 Excel spreadsheet. You need this document. You need some sort of guidance. If you're already at that revenue level, but you're not profitable, something's missing. And I can tell you what I know already. It's not your effort, because you're probably the hardest working guy you've ever met. So now we just got to get you sharp and focused on the right things. Grab the Profit Pack from me. Shoot me a text. You'll find it changes things for you. My cell phone number is 315-903-7853. I would be proud for you to have this and grow your business. Well, and again, back to our topic, personal, like taking care of my dollars, my pennies and dimes. I think we forget. I'm going to say this, and some people are going to be offended, and some of them are going to go, oh, I forgot. We're not in business to sell stuff. We're not in business to make stuff. We are in business to make money. We're here for profit.
Yep.
Like, we're here to make a profit.
Right.
And then when we have those profits, we find people like you and say, okay, how do I put that in my own personal financial pool so I can take care of my parents, or for so many of us, aging parents?
Yep.
right? Or maybe a child who needs help. Like
Right.
we've got to be able to people. We're the fix-it people. Listening to the show or watching us on YouTube or iTunes, we're the people other people call when something's broken. Family, faith, in the business world, they call us.
Yep. Yep. And we should be proud of that. We're
Yeah.
needed. When the phone rings, we are needed. We're valuable. People
Yeah.
need us, and we're going to make money doing that. And we should not be embarrassed to tell people we're in this to make money. I love that you
I
pointed out.
agree. We shouldn't be embarrassed to say that. But if you go look in the online forums, everybody's like, well, I can't price my jobs at 50% gross. Nobody will buy from me. And my answer sounds so glib, but I've just been doing it for so long. You're charging you're talking to the wrong people.
Wrong customer. Yep. Very good point.
Wrong
And the
customer.
reason it's not just something that you should shy away from, about acknowledging that you're out here to make money. It's actually very important that you focus on that, obviously for your business, but also because if you make money, it means that you can take care of your own stuff. I mean, I forgot who it was that said, I think it was Ronald Reagan, who said the best way to help poor people is not become one of them. Like first and foremost, take care of your own family so you're not somebody else's problem, right? Yeah. And so, and the other thing that happens is you have an amazing amount of control, autonomy, agency. And so if you can take care of yourself because you can add value and get paid for it, awesome. If you can take care of an entire family, even better, which means no one else has to do it, right? And you can take care of a city and a country. That's why I help people.
When you're consulting with people and talking to them about their personal financial situation, is there 3 mistakes they're making right now that you often have to shore up? Like let's get into what do I need to do if I want to be, have a stronger personal financial.
Yeah. And it somewhat depends on what the person's doing. If they're a W-2 employee, a very strong government job or something like that, I mean, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, but ours are all contractors.
Exactly.
They're of their shop or they're
Yep.
Not shop all the time, but
so contractors and business owners who are, they are leaning on themselves and themselves only. Yeah. And so the most important thing the number one thing that brings down businesses, even strong ones, is a lack of liquidity. Something stopped the cash flow. And Zig Ziglar was like, hey, money is not the most important thing, but it's relatively close to oxygen, right? Especially for a business. Yeah. So if your cash flow stops, you better have a reserve somewhere that you can go lean on.
Sorry, I'm going to stop for a second. One of our coaches just started with a new client, and that new client had just under $300,000 in receivables when they started with us. They were financially strapped when they started with us. And the first thing we went to do is go figure out how to go get that 300 some odd thousand. And it wasn't from one account. It was from a couple of just things that needed to be taken care of, but all of them were stuck and they all needed a little bit. You can't approach everything with a hammer, assuming everything in the world's a nail. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But being able to sit down with our team and go through it, boom, that 300, it was 270 something, was suddenly back in their pockets. And not only could you exhale, you could inhale.
Yeah. And so, those 2 or 3 things, like they need to be very clear on what their numbers are. Like, what is my burn rate? What is my cash flow? How much can I actually save every month? You don't need to go through a budget unless you just enjoy doing that. But really just observing this much comes in and this much is left after I pay my stuff. Like big picture is fine. But you need to know your burn rate and you need to have a reasonable amount. If you're a business owner, I recommend 12 months of expenses in an emergency fund or a reserve fund. So decent reserve fund, know what your burn rate is, have control over it. Yeah. And then it comes down to investing. What should I invest in? I'm a big believer in investing in yourself and in your own business. And so can I expand the business? Is marketing the right thing? Is hiring an expert in this one area the right thing? More trucks, whatever. Yeah. But I believe if you invest in yourself before you go invest in ABC Mutual Fund or some advisor.
Yeah. Well, we have, it's funny because we have the most control of our business. So we know the ins and the outs, the money in, the money out, the effort in, the effort out. And so it does make sense for us to invest in our own business first. We know where the returns are going to be. Yeah. Right. If you run the business great, let's say you're getting that 50% gross profit margin, then after all expenses, you're running it. So you're getting, we like to see people north of 10%. Too often people are in the 3 to 5% net. You've just got a job.
Yep.
Right. But it's such working hard. Really, that's all you have, but it doesn't take a lot of changes. And I don't want to say that disrespectfully. When you've seen the changes that it needs, it's, the path to take, right? The path to those riches, the path to profitability. But you start making that, well, then you've got the money and then you have the ability to make the decisions you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So liquidity, cash flow, and then how can I invest in my own, in the ongoing concern I already have to make it better? Those are the big things.
Yeah. And we have unlimited capacity to make our business better.
Yep.
It's
Absolutely.
it's funny. We just another client that we just started with reminded us again and again, I don't want more sales. I just want to be more profitable where we are. And it felt like we were agreeing with each other too much. We're like, yeah, we get that. You're right. You don't have to stay. I think they're around 6 million. You don't have to go to 7 million to be profitable because they're already busy. They're already turning away business.
Yeah.
You just
Just keep
have to
more
be
what you can bring in.
profitable, more profitable. You've got plenty. And I think everybody listening here has plenty of work. That's not thankfully, we're not back in, do you remember the 80s?
Oh man.
Oh, they were only selling very small belts. We had all tightened them right down to the last knuckle.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
And none
And
of
we're
us
being
really are
told to
suffering
like
from
put
starvation
sweaters on
now.
when it's cold, like right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's another side of it that's not as fun and exciting to talk about, but that's the protection side. You really do want to protect from getting blindsided by a semi truck you didn't know was coming at you. So,
Like
there's
a metaphorical one or like crossing
metaphorical.
the street?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You
Metaphorical.
definitely don't want to get hit by a real one, but,
Yeah.
but just you need to take off the table the opportunity to be completely wiped out by something you didn't see coming. So those are like, errors and omission. There's the boring stuff, right? But it's also life insurance, it's disability. So there's a time and a place depending on what your industry is and what you're doing, right? Contractors, certainly workman's comp and disability are real things, right? It's a dangerous place out there.
Yeah.
And making sure that your family is going to be okay no matter what. I'll tell you, a lot of people are not as big of a fan about whole life insurance or term insurance or just life insurance in general. It can be seen as maybe something I just don't need and is an expense I don't want. But I can still remember the day where I had decided what I wanted my grandkids' lives to be like. I don't even have grandkids yet. And I said, you know what? I want that to be a place. But what happens if I'm unable to keep working, the business doesn't keep happening, whatever it is? But I just put life insurance in place on myself because I was still healthy at the time. I still am healthy, but at the 8 years ago, I was healthy. And there's no guarantee that I will be 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So I just put in place, guaranteed that future was coming. And that was so enlightening and relieving. I just stopped worrying about
I appreciate you bringing that up because, one of the things we do in coaching is we look at the business or the year in quarters. And even though one of our clients was talking about getting a will, and in the first in my mind, and you can't say this because it's not polite. I'm like, you don't have a will? But they were like, we really have to work on our will. And I'm working with the coach who's working on that account. Like, we got to make sure that stays front and center on the agenda. But all of those things like wills and insurance, they're not necessarily sexy, but it's doing the work at 4 a.m. It's, when you get up early in the morning to go for a jog, nobody sees that. But what they see is a healthy person walking on the street going for lunch that day. Yeah. They don't see the hard work put in the background is my point. And the hard, smart work is making sure that you're legally taken care of, you're financially taken care of, you've got your insurances taken care of, so that if something does happen, your family's taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. An amazing, I'm the guys out stomping on the soapbox saying, hey, you need more reserves. You need more reserves, especially if you're a business owner. And if you own real estate, you need more reserves again. And so I'm always beating on that. And there's a weird side effect from that or result of it that I did not anticipate. But I was like, one of the reasons, so Zig Ziglar used to have, he would talk about his business partner. He's like, that guy was starving. He couldn't feed his family. I was doing great. I could never understand. So I went over to help him out, maybe with his pitch. And he decided to cook dinner. And I realized he wasn't cooking on our company's products. So they were selling pots and pans. And he's like, he's not eating his own cooking. And so he's like, the most important thing you need to do is buy some of the product, right? And so I kind of realized, hey, early on, I said, I need to live this life if I'm going to talk to anybody about it. And so I started building more and more and more and more reserves. What's it feel like to have 20% of my net worth in reserves? That feels pretty good. What's 30 like, And so you get to this point where you sleep very well at night, no matter what comes. COVID comes. My tenants
I
may
can just
not
see you snuggling into the sheets right now, like, our
right?
reserves are taken care of. But it's true, right? You go into the winter, in the days before we had electricity and all that stuff, you went into the winter knowing you had the larder stocked and you were the family was taken care of.
Here's the amazing thing that I was gonna get to eventually there, but thanks for I got kind of refocused. But when you have everything covered like that, you start dreaming, what am I going to do with all this extra money? Oh, look at my neighbor's yard. You used to drive by the neighbor's yard, and it was weeds were growing up. You're like, that guy cut his stupid yard. Like, I'm gonna turn him into the homeowners association and stuff, right? Like, he's bringing my property value down. But then you're like, wow, I wonder if he needs help. Maybe he needs a loan, or maybe I just buy it from him, or maybe I'll buy that, right? So you start becoming very optimistic.
You see the world in a different
my
way.
competitor I used to get frustrated with, maybe he wants me to buy his plumbing company. Maybe I could help him out. We'd both win, right? Because you have the liquidity, you're thinking differently. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, and you can help more people, including your kids and your family.
Exactly.
Again, I know because we talk to so many of our audience, we're the people other people call when they have questions or need help. And everybody in the audience, you're the guy, everybody's got a guy. They're like, I got a guy. They get I got a guy. Well, everybody listening here's the guy or the gal who's the person somebody else goes to for that help. And for us to get there, we just have to stick to our own knitting. It's just doing the things in the background that nobody else thinks is exciting, but it's putting aside $100 a month, teaching your kids how important it is to put aside $100 a month. The kids who don't have the gray hair and wrinkles that we've got. And now I wish I'd put aside even more.
And there's, and similar on that mindset. I kind of got distracted from this. My wife does the books now, but I used to do Quicken, and I would make sure I would check every month to see, is the net worth higher than it was last month, right? Yeah. And I don't care at all about net worth. It's just a silly number, but it demonstrates, it's a way of seeing, was my cash flow positive, right? Like, so that $100 a month you're putting away, it's mindset. It's very helpful in mindset because you're not going backwards. You don't have this big upset.
Hey, do you want something? It's kind of got a funny title. It's called the Profit Pack. And we didn't even name it that. One of our coaches was talking to one of our clients, and I guess he was helping one of his buddies. He's like, hey, you got to have this Profit Pack. And he put together a package downloads and shared it with him. So now we call it the Profit Pack. But look, it's 5 downloads. One of them's an Excel spreadsheet. The other 4 are PDFs. Here's what's inside the Profit Pack. If you want to just text me and say Profit Pack, we'll send it off. Anyways, the first one's called the Ultimate Get Things Under Control Guide. Fantastic guide. It's going to walk you through all the things that are pulling you off your main focus daily. Then we've got the 1-hour job estimate calculator. That one is crazy. And I'll tell you, you'll know you need that report when you get frustrated at sending your guy to, let's say, Home Depot or Lowe's or somewhere else, and he comes back with an energy drink in his hand and you get mad knowing, I just set that guy on an extra break. Well, you need this one, the 1-hour job estimate calculator. Then we've got the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Planner, which we do every year. It's our big New Year's resolution planner. So you're going to want that one. And then number 4 is how to calculate my revenue responsibility per hour. This is a crazy number. This is the number that wealthy contractors learned at their kitchen table that you didn't get a chance to learn at yours. So you're going to want to get this one. And then number 5 is, where are my blind spots? It's a construction business reality check. Boom. There you go. 5 documents. They're all going to help you. If you want it, just say Profit Pack. And if you want it, send me a text. My number is 315-903-7853. Now, if I recall, you do have a real estate, you invest in real estate as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What drove you to do that? Because that's a different asset class than insurance, than cash flow from a business.
Yeah, it was about control over the resources. So it was before I flipped the switch for business. Business is kind of, business for me is my 250th anniversary of America celebration, realizing that we are children of God, and we have unique genius, unique ability that people will value, and they will have us go do something with it. And if I'm a contractor and I can make better cabinets than everybody else, well, I'm making a cabinet for this guy, and then eventually I'll go make a cabinet for that guy. But if I run the business and I work on the leadership side of things, then I can build cabinets for 1,000 people all at once. Right. I can share that unique genius with others. Yeah. And I think I went off track there. What was the original comment?
It was, oh my gosh.
You asked me, I got it. Why am I in real estate? Yeah.
Yeah. The real estate investment. And then you went down cabinets, and I'm thinking, well, people build decks and docks and fences and do home renos. Yeah.
There you go.
Right. So, real estate. Take us back to real estate.
Yeah. So I have to go back a little bit. I'm in command of this submarine, and I was going to go and spend time around my kids. All my money's in the markets. And I happen to have command of the USS Tucson in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii from 2009 to 11. The entire Great Recession encompasses my submarine time in command, paying no attention. I'm deployed to Asia, doing amazing things. It was fun, and it was very rewarding. We come back, and I realize when I've given up command to the next guy, half my money is gone in the Great Recession, all in the markets. No advisor called me, said, hey, we got this. Hey, and then when I questioned them, they were like, and the reason this matters, like a lot of people our age lost money in the Great Recession, but they don't even notice it because they weren't paying attention. They weren't
paper money, you mean?
Yeah.
Like money, they lost money on paper.
Yes, on paper.
Right.
But I wanted it that moment. So that paper had to turn into real because I wanted it so that I didn't have to keep working in the military and go spend time around my boys. So I was kind of like a guy retiring, even though I was 42 years old, right? I wanted to retire and live on my money. So that it didn't happen. So I had to spend more time in the military and traveling and commuting every day. And it frustrated me. But I realized in that whole experience, I had no control. And I really couldn't explain why, but I was desperate to gain control. And that to me meant put my money into real estate where I could touch it. I could, have more of an insight than have it in ABC mutual fund in some 401k manager's hands that I didn't even know. Right. Yeah. And in that case, I was basically playing a slot machine every time. It would go up or down. And I really didn't control any of that. So I felt like massive control when I put it into my real estate. I didn't know about business yet at that point. I mean, it's not like I didn't know about it. I didn't focus on it.
It wasn't your thing.
Right. So I built a bunch of real estate, and having real estate is like having gold and silver. It is protecting your family from inflation. Remember the big lesson when I was a kid, don't have variable interest rate loans or be beholden to somebody with bills you can't pay. And so that was
loss of control.
Right. That was kind of inside me.
Right.
And so I'm like, I want control and I want to protect the family from inflation. Because about this same time, the government was like, hey, we're going to do this thing called quantitative easing. And then we got QE2 and QE3 and eventually became QE infinity. They're printing money like drunken sailors to be named the sailors.
Hey, those guys.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have seen this movie and it does not end well. So I want to protect the family from that. So I could have bought gold, but this crazy real estate thing, I mean, you can put 20% down, get 5 times as much as you can with gold.
Yeah.
And some dude will rent it from you.
Great force multiplier.
I mean, there's all these benefits, right? So that's why I got into real estate, really just to protect and grow wealth over time. And then I found business and I figured out business owners are my people because they are seeking agency control in a big way and sharing their unique geniuses.
Yeah, it's all about control. And the frustration that we see is when people feel like they're out of control. And, having money is not in itself the reason to have money. I believe money just gives me choices.
Yeah, it's gasoline.
I just want choices. I just want the options. Sorry, what did you say?
I just said it's gasoline. It's a resource. Like you can use it for good.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can use it for bad, or you can use it for what. But
we've seen money go up people's noses, right? So we don't want to do any of this stuff.
Tragic.
That's bad.
Yeah. But I'll tell you the real estate thing is a big one for me. And I think it might have to do with the way I was raised as well, because my parents came over with nothing, new immigrants to the country, and real estate at the time was much cheaper, but it also gave them that certainty that nothing was going to get taken from them. They always had a backfall. And this must have been about 2 months ago. I was speaking at a conference, and there was another very large contractor there who shared during his, I was presenting, he presented at a different stage, but he has $100,000 a month of a lease.
He's paying that.
He's paying.
Wow. There's a burn rate you need to pay attention to.
A month in leases. And somebody had asked him, said, hey, if you can go back in time and change something, what would you do? He said, I would have bought either my property or other property to offset.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what happens on any month. He has to bring in, like, just for his overheads, just for every month is $100,000 in lease that's going to somebody else. Somebody else owns that asset, and you're just visiting for a bit. It's like a hotel room. You don't really get the benefit except for that night. And I remember one of my uncles, of course, Italian, your most expensive day in real estate is the first day that you own it, because you're always going to pay it down. He goes, but if you rent, every day gets more expensive every day.
Yeah.
That sounds way better in Italian with the accent and the dialect.
But it's totally true though. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, you have to remember it. So I'm urging everybody listening, buy your shop, buy your warehouse, buy what you can as real estate. And if you can't, buy some other piece of real estate that helps you supplement, because it's its own kind of insurance to me.
Yeah. Multiple streams of uncorrelated cash flows and having liquidity. Those are things that give you certainty in life.
That's why people listen to this show, because people don't talk like this on the street, right? You just said multiple sources of uncorrelated income,
cash flows.
Income. Yeah. That's how business people talk.
Yeah.
Right. That's the back room at the Chamber of Commerce conversation. So thank you for reminding us. That's what it means to run a business, is to be wise and smart and be a good steward of what you've built and what you've earned. how you're training your people. I should add, by the way, that I think one of the legacy things that we do for others, and you probably see this as well, is when you're working with a business owner and you're showing him or her how to be wise with their money, that filters down to their team as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So you're
it has to, otherwise they'll never achieve what they're after.
Right. So you're impacting more people than just yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. They're watching what you do. I mean, they want to be you, right? Or they want to have the resources you have, at least.
Yeah, I know. How often has somebody heard the size of a job that you just won, a contract? You know, so one of our, I won't name the contractor, just won a job, and it's for an airport. It's $2 million.
Oh my.
But how many people in their company think the owner just made $2 million? They're taking home $2 million and I'm just getting wages. And that's the most ignorant statement that anybody could make. But they don't know, the employees don't know how business works.
True.
That out of that 2 million, maybe the owner is going to make, you know, a fraction of a percentage, whereas everybody that works there is guaranteed to get their salary.
And that's it. The owners have traded certainty or safety for opportunity.
Yeah.
And you should not do that without a parachute, like some reserves, you know, and coming from somewhere else.
Something there. Hey, listen, before we wind up, I have to ask you about that sword behind you. For those of you who are listening to this as a podcast, you should really watch the video, because Gary, you've got a fantastic background. Of course, you've got the flag behind you. And then you've got the sword, saber. What do you call it?
Sword. Yeah, it's a sword. The Marine Corps calls it a saber, and it looks a little different than ours. But in the Navy, for whatever reason, they call it the officer's ceremonial sword.
Yeah. So, how do you swing that thing in a submarine? Isn't it a little tight?
You don't want to poke the wall. In there, but we never pulled it out in there. That would be a mess. There'd be metal clinking everywhere. Yeah. So it's you use it for weddings and official changes of command and things like that. I probably wore it 5 or 6 times after graduating from the Naval, but I had to wear it all the time there for noon meal formations and craziness.
Yeah.
So it's just you wear it with your formal dress. There's a winter black uniform we wear and a summer white uniform we wear. And
right.
It's mainly ceremonial. It's not sharp enough to hurt anybody. You could put an eye out with it probably, but
you have to try real hard. Did your boys follow you in the military?
No, neither one did. I actually didn't push it. Stories for another time, but it was poor timing. And when they were, coming of that age, and one of them did ask me about it. He's actually going to become a firefighter, I think. So I think that's pretty cool. But most important to me was that they are, like every parent, that they are responsible, proud and successful young men. And I want them to both be in business. I'm helping my oldest start a pool service business here in Florida, pretty high demand. And the other one went through business school, and he's selling life insurance door to door. And I'm like, buddy, if you survive that, you're going to be amazing. No, because that is a tough one.
Yeah, kidding. Your son that is in the pool cleaning business, tell him that's actually how I started.
Nice. Yeah. I love it.
That was the first business I sold, and I sold it by accident.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just cleaning pools. I had no intention of.
You got a number that you didn't think anybody would take serious, and they did.
Well, I was standing in line at the pool store, which is where the hot tub store, really.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of stuff in my hand. The guy behind me in line tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you want to sell your business?" And I didn't know it was. I was a kid. We're talking about like high school, maybe first year of university.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. And I turned around. I went, "Yeah, 30 grand." I thought that was the end of the conversation. And then it wasn't the next day, but it was like a couple of weeks later. I'm cleaning somebody's pool, and I've got the Walkman. You're the same age. Yeah. Remember the Walkman, the yellow Walkman? And I've got the yellow Walkman on. I'm cleaning somebody's pool, the big, huge pool pole in my hand. And somebody came around the corner of the house. And so I'm waving the pool pole. I'm like, "What are you doing here? Get out of here." Because he wasn't the owner. He's like, whoa, hold on, man. Will you take 28? That was my first business sale negotiation. Will you take 28? So he had just gotten divorced and had taken his nest egg that was left, and he had a pool company in the other place he lived, and he just wanted to buy my accounts. And so
there you go.
Being a university student, I will tell you, I drank it.
That sounds like my first race win at the Preakness. Only horse race I've ever won.
I should have met you. Gary, what do I do with this money? But no, I didn't listen to anybody. I just, you're a university student. Life is good. It's just basically a beer commercial, and that's what I did.
Yep.
I can't believe I just said that on recorded. My kids are going to hear this. Mr. Gary Pinkerton, if somebody wants to find you in this big wide world and continue hearing your stories and obviously tapping into your wisdom, how do we do that?
Well, I try to make it as simple as possible. So it's my name. So it's just Gary at GaryPinkerton.com is really the easiest way.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Yeah. I mean, you can search my name in submarines and you'll find me eventually, because there aren't many of us who've done that, but not with that name at least.
Not with that name,
But yeah, Gary at GaryPinkerton.com. I'd be forever honored, and I will help anybody, including just answering questions.
Yeah. And you're in Florida now.
I am. Yeah. Gulf Coast of Florida, Fort Myers area.
Oh, great. Yeah. So you've left the Midwest.
Yeah. I left Midwest when I went to Naval Academy, and was up in the Northeast the most recently. And then we came down here during COVID.
Nice. Well, Florida, beautiful place. Love it there. I'll be there quite a bit in the next couple of years.
Plenty of opportunity.
Yeah. All right, Gary, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks, Dominic. That was amazing. Great questions.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Well. Mr. Gary Pinkerton, thank you so much for being a guest on the show and sharing your wisdom, your insight, some of your cool stories about your days on the submarine, and that cool sword. If you're watching this on YouTube, you would have seen the sword behind him. For those of you listening on iTunes, you'll have to take our word for it, or go over to the YouTube channel and see the episode there. Again, very interesting insights. If you're in the mindset right now of growing your net worth and growing your personal income and protecting your personal income, I'm glad you're here, because that's, we're running a business, but we can't just burn all the money once we make it. If you want to know more about the finances inside your own company, there's a professional development tool that we have. It's called How to Find and Fix Your 8 Profit Leaks. Those profit leaks exist in every cabinet shop. Doesn't matter whether you're far north or deep south. Doesn't matter if you're East Coast or West Coast. Doesn't matter if you're in the blazing deserts or in the highest mountains where it's cold all year long. It doesn't matter. We all have profit leaks in our business. It's up to us as owners to find those profit leaks, identify them, separate them, and fix them. And that's what this document does. If you want it, just shoot me a text message. Super simple, as always. I want to make sure that you have access to what you need. Just text me the word 8 profit leaks, and then I'll know which document to send you back, which tool to send you. You guys know my cell phone number, but I'll repeat it here. My cell is 315-903-7853, and just say 8 profit leaks, and then we'll send that off to you. Listen, I want to give you an update as well on the Christmas water project. Very cool. We are now at 1,200 liters donated, which is, thank you, by the way. And for those of you who are first time listening, all you have to do is like or comment on an episode, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Every time you do that, we count them as points. So one like or one comment counts as 1 point. And those points then get converted into liters of water. Liters is how they measure things in Nicaragua. And so it's 1,200 liters so far, or 317 gallons, which is a lot of gallons. It's a lot. So we're in a really interesting place right now. If you want to visualize that, that's 400 toilet flushes. Or if you were going to paint a building and you needed to paint a 32,000 square foot building, that would be enough to do 1 coat of paint on the whole thing. I started as a painter, so I can tell you 1 coat's usually not enough. But just to give you a visual, that would help you do at least the first coat on a 32,000 square foot building. Say hi to the 2 clients of ours out there who both moved into 30,000 square foot spaces over the Christmas break. I bet you none of us would do that again over a Christmas break. Just a message to everybody. It is a lot of work over Christmas. But just to give you that visual of how much impact you're having on this community that lives at a dump. And I want to say thank you for that, because you really are just the simple act of, so simple. Just like or comment. As somebody pointed out, you can also leave a bad comment or an unlike, still counts. I'm okay. I'm a big boy. But all of those count. So please do that. And we will add them up. And from those, we will donate water for a very, very good cause. Thank you for listening to the show. I'm looking forward to the day when you and I can clink a glass across a table like real humans. Maybe we're drinking an old fashioned. Maybe got a glass of wine. Maybe if it's earlier in the day, it's a cup of coffee. Looking forward to it. Until then, we'll see you on the next episode. Have a great one.